It's like the moment we hit the 200 week again, I quadrupled my DCA, and I'm not touching it until we're back above the 200 day at like 73 or 74. And I think that's just, it's a question that'll be answered in time, but it's just as you said, James. And
do we have any thoughts on sentiment? And then also, what is the on-chain data telling you?
Yeah, I mean,
and people will kill you for it, and they'll say you're the reason Bitcoin's down. It's like when you're at that point in the cycle.
Yeah, I mean, it's bearish as hell in terms of the sentiment. I mean, people are just sad and depressed and cranky, and we're arguing over stupid soft forks and all this kind of stuff like that. It's amazing, right? The amount of, Saylor became the main character, and I wrote about this I think before the bear even kicked off, saying like, what do you expect to see late stage bear? And one of the things was, I can't predict what the exact headline, but strategy close to liquidation. Saylor's bungus bet on Bitcoin goes belly up, right? Something like that. And you just saw this, right? He sold 32 Bitcoin. Everyone's got the picks and shovels out and the torches are flaring. Sentiment's grim. But another thing that Michael's done a good job of is actually, and we do this all the time in the on-chain world, is just peeling apart cohorts, because not every Bitcoiner is the same. There are some of us who've been through a couple of these cycles before and are a bit more tenured. And generally, our moods are a bit less volatile, right? And quite often when people are getting super pessimistic about the current thing, the OGs and folks who've been around for a while are like, I know this feeling. Oh yeah, this is my time to actually step in and accumulate. So there's this breaking apart of the two cohorts. And again, as I said before, 80% of the wealth in the system is now a long-term holder. And we have this basically the all-time high in relative value for long-term versus short-term. So we've got a very, very strong base of coins that just aren't moving, people who kind of know what they're here for. They know why Bitcoin is valuable. And the difference with those folks is they're not worried about the day-to-day. I think folks, very often, your mood and emotions, I use the example of the Mount Gox folks back in 2024. They got their coins back. Lord knows what they paid for them. Not much, right? We're talking about boomers buying houses for raspberries. These guys are buying Bitcoins for $150, $1,000, whatever. We'd all love to be there. Mount Gox fails. They finally get their coins back at 68K. Then the price goes down to 48, 49. How do you reckon they felt? They're not like, oh, damn, I'm only down like 6,500% now. It's like, no, they've like, damn, I could have got 68K. So you anchor to your most recent structure, most recent buy, most recent whatever. So folks get caught up in the day-to-day chop. That's why I call it chopsolidation. It chops your emotions to pieces. There is a skill and an experience to be able to back out and say, like, let's look at the really big picture here, And I've said this before, if you go back to the 2022 bear, the first, what I call the price paying capitulation, we happened in June. We sold off to 17.6. This is as 3 Arrows Capital turned out to be a fraud. 17.6. We bottomed at 15.6, 8 months later. What's the difference between 15.6 and 17.6? In terms of price, it's irrelevant. No one who is a long-term buyer of Bitcoin gives a rat's about that delta. The difference is the 8 months it took to get there. It's the time chapter of it. And then there was another phase after FTX. It was over Christmas, which is always a quiet period, but I wrote about this at the time. It was like 2.5 weeks where the Bitcoin price traded within a $250 range, like a horizontal line, just nothing, dead flat, nothing. And we've seen a couple of patches recently where it's just like nothing. There's no volume, there's no trade, there's no nothing. It's just sideways. So it's, again, there's just a lot of things that to me point to we have a very, very large dominance of hodlers. We've seen the ETF capitulation. We've seen from an on-chain perspective the two capitulations I wanted to see, price and time pain. And we've seen both of those. Momentum, in my view, across a number of metrics. Again, it's like April in London. It's still cold, wet, dreary, and miserable, but it's not February. So the momentum is improving slowly. And spring is coming. So more and more people realize that spring is coming and they start going, well, do I really care if the market goes a bit lower from here? If I turn on a DCA campaign and just start actually accumulating, do I really care that much? No. Right. Once you get to this point in time, the speculators are gone, the tourists are gone. It's just people who know why we're here. So, generally speaking, I'm in the 60s. Give it to me all day.
One company I like pointing people to when they ask about Bitcoin mining is Abundant Mines. They were founded by Bo and Christine Turner after losing over $500,000 to broken promises in the mining industry. and they built their hosting model to remove the usual headaches. With Abundant Minds, you own your machines and keep 100% of the Bitcoin you mine. There's no revenue share, no hidden skims. Pricing is simple. One flat monthly fee covers power, parts, labor, and repairs. They also guarantee uptime. If a machine goes down, their hash rate redirect system routes hash power from their fleet so earnings don't just stop, and every machine is insured at full replacement value. Everything is hosted in the US, powered by Hydro, and mining equipment may qualify for 100% year one bonus depreciation. Learn more at abundantminds.com/sessions.
Beautiful. Joe, I'm curious your thoughts on sentiment right now, and even just as like rough indicators too. I think I was looking at fear and greed was sitting at like 28. And then I watched things like Google Trends too, and Google Trends on all the little topics that I follow, they're all down in Bitcoin terms, Bitcoin hardware, Bitcoin self-custody, Bitcoin itself. I like watching the YouTube metrics because it's the one thing I have access to, so I can see views and how they're responding. And I'll follow different channels. I follow your channel too, by the way, Joe, and track it for information. I can see that views and interest are down across the board as well. So Joe, even just continuing the idea of sentiment, what's your view on sentiment right now? I'm curious how the comment section's been to you lately. And I'm also wondering if you have any, it's just kind of speculation, any thoughts on how it might turn around? Like, I'm almost wondering what the next narrative might be.
It's a really good question. Well, you know, if I could pull up my YouTube studio without revealing too much information, that's all the sentiment you need. Look at the comment section. People are calling me stupid. Adam Back told me to eat my shoe a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's right. I did see that. That was a good one.
All the most fun stuff in the world.
Get it framed.
I was going to say, I feel like that's a bit of an accolade. Like, that's a good one. Yeah.
No, I've got a signed letter from JD Vance right there, and I have a signed letter from Trump in a drawer here, and then right underneath that, Adam Back telling me to actually right next to his name on the white paper. I could
beautiful.
Anyway, no, it's like you've got that, you've got the fear and greed index, and also like here's the deal, and I think James you'll agree. It's like Bitcoin's interesting when it's crashing. Bitcoin's interesting when it's rocketing. Right. And this is also corroborated by like my YouTube channel, Nathan, your YouTube channel, James, I'm sure YouTube channel, your newsletter, all of it. Like growth is good when Bitcoin is crashing. Yep. Growth is good when Bitcoin is rocketing. Growth is terrible when Bitcoin's doing nothing. And right now we're sort of in that phase where Bitcoin is doing nothing. We've had like one too many fake rallies where even on this rally, like nobody seems to care. Right. Yep. It's like Bitcoin's breaking above 65, 66. Oh, it's like we've been there before. We went from 59K to 84K and then all the way back down, right? So people just aren't buying that anymore. We're at the point where it's like extreme malaise, tons of infighting. You know, you could say that like, you know, you own Bitcoin, you use like river.com in light mode instead of dark mode, and people will kill you for it. And they'll say you're the reason Bitcoin's down. It's like when you're at that point in the cycle, that's typically when it's like, all right, guys, you know, we're closing in on the bottom, right? The final question is like, when will we ascend higher? And I think that's just, you know, it's a question that'll be answered in time. But it's just as you said, James, and you echoed, Nathan, it's like being here for several cycles, understanding this feeling, it's like, oh my goodness, this is fantastic. The moment we hit the 200 week again, I quadrupled my DCA, and I'm not touching it until we're back above the 200 day at like 73 or 74. Like I'm all in now, you know, because I know that 4 years from now, maybe we get another week down. Maybe we get some capitulatory bottom correlation to one event,